Ladies and gentlemen, Lenny Bruce.
Hey gang, I'm Jordan David. In this life, few things are built to last, and of the things that are, all are made of brick or steel. This epidermis here, it dies and flakes away. And what it holds, the brain, deteriorates. And what it holds, the memories, the knowledge of a lifetime, deteriorate as well. If you live long enough, you become aware of that fact, and you are forced, either consciously or subconsciously, to confront the idea of being an abstract essence in a concrete world, and what the purpose of that could possibly be, and if there is a purpose, whether or not the way that we've organized our society fits that greater purpose. Now, there are hundreds of professions designed to guide you toward said purpose, to reveal it to you, whether it be a professor, a politician, a priest, anything that starts with a P, really. Only one profession is designed to confront that purpose using nothing but levity. And that, of course, is the comedian.
And that's another big problem, that people can't separate the authority and that people have the authority vested in them. I think you see that a lot in the demonstrations. Because actually the people are demonstrating not against Vietnam, they're demonstrating against the police department. Actually against policemen, because they have that concept of the law, that the law and the law enforcement are one. And it started, said, well, we have to have some rules. That's how the law starts, out of the fact. Let's see. I tell you what we'll do. We'll have a vote. We'll sleep in Area A. Is that cool? Okay, good. And we'll eat in Area B. Good? Good. We'll throw a crap in Area C. So everything went on pretty cool, you know, everybody was very happy. One night, everybody was sleeping. Guy woke up, pow, got a face full of crap. And he said, hey, what's the deal here? I thought we had a rule. He says, eat, sleep, and crap, and I was sleeping and I got a face full of crap.
Some believe the comedian's role is to provide a psychic relief to all of the societal injustices of the world. Some people believe it is to entertain. But if you were to read Lenny Bruce's autobiography, How to Talk Dirty and Influence People, you would discover that perhaps the greatest purpose of a comedian is not to entertain, not simply to soothe the aching soul, but to speak for the people, to be a warrior for the silenced, to push our society in directions that the instruments of power push against, whatever they may be.
So they said, well, the rule was substantive. That's what the 14th Amendment is. It regulates the rights, but it doesn't do anything about it. It just says that's where it's at. We'll have to do something to enforce the provisions, to give us some teeth. Here's the deal. If anybody throws any crap on us while we're sleeping, they get thrown in the crap house. Agreed? Because, well, everybody? Yeah, but what about if it's my mother? Oh, you don't understand. Your mother will be the fact. That has nothing to do with it. It's just a rule. Eat, sleep, and crap. Anybody throws any crap on us, they get thrown right in the crap house. Your mother doesn't enter into it. Everybody's mother gets thrown in the crap house. Priests, rabbis, they all go.
It feels silly to give someone like Lenny Bruce an introduction. He's legendary. I'd heard his name dozens of times, but to be honest, I didn't really know anything about him beyond the fact that he was a comedian, until I watched the show, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, by the lovely Amy Sherman Palladino, where a fictional comedian, Mrs. Maisel, goes around New York City trying to make it. And she is mentored by a fictionalized version of Lenny Bruce. And I so fell in love with the depiction of Lenny Bruce in that show that I decided I had to learn more. And the first thing that came up when I started looking into him was the fact that he had written an autobiography, so I knew I had to get my hands on a copy. The book was initially published in Playboy magazine as a serial from 1964 to 1965, when Lenny was kind of at the peak of his infamy in society. And then it was later published under the title, the parody title of one of the most famous self-help books of all time, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Lenny Bruce, famous for talking dirty and influencing people. I mean, it fit together like a glove. That sneaky, cheeky comedian bastard, Lenny.
Okay, now going along very cool, huh? Guy's sleeping, pow, into the face full of crap. Now he wakes up, he sees he's all alone, this guy. And he looks and everybody's having a big party. He said, hey, what's the deal? I thought we had a rule, eat, sleep, and crap, and you just threw a face full of crap on me. They said, oh, it's a religious holiday. And we told you many times that you're going to live your indecent life and sleep all day. You deserve to be thrown crap on you while you're sleeping. If you want to sleep all day, and the guy said, bullshit. The rule's the rule, and this guy started to separate the church and the state right down the middle. Pow! Here's a church rule, and here's a federalist rule.
Of course, the first thing that struck me when I started reading it was not the humor, but how impressive I found Lenny to be as a writer outside of the comedy. Of course, it's possible that he used some sort of ghostwriter or that it was heavily edited, but given the great lengths that he went through in his career to protect his right to speak his mind, it would surprise me to know that he let anybody touch it. Definitely seemed like a perfectionist, and he definitely seemed like he was proud of the thoughts that he put to word and to paper. But by God, the man is a brilliant writer, both in exposition and in narrative themes. Even in 2022, I felt like I was transporting back to a 1920s Depression-era American life on Long Island, where you're running around, neglected by your poor parents, stealing money from the American Cross, and trying to game the bottle deposit system. And his style, which was stream of consciousness, very vogue at the time after the Beat movement, and definitely how Lenny also delivered his comedy. It has you jumping from setting to setting in a minute, and if that's done poorly, it can be really jarring, but if it's done well, you can find yourself immediately immersed on a Long Island farm where you're importing Texan chicken eggs and covering them with Long Island chicken shit and then going out to the street and selling them as local. It transforms you in another minute to undocking at a French brothel and discovering all the different themed rooms they have that would be far too open-minded to fit in an American brothel. It'll transform you in another minute to getting discharged from the Navy by pretending to be a crossdresser just so that you could leave. And then in another minute to dressing up as a priest and conning an entire community in Florida by claiming that you're going to send all the money they donate to a Caribbean leper colony. I mean, these are the stories of Lenny Bruce's life, and not only do they fit together and fit the theme of everything that he tried to exemplify throughout his work, but it's just really a fascinating perspective for a vanilla middle-class kid who is following his track through life as was laid out by the U.S. government and society at large. Lenny Bruce took a different path, and look at the reward for his effort. But here I am, losing the thread, which is something Lenny never does in this book, even through all these various quick-paced stories, which is to really attack and critique those structures of power that go out and aim to homogenize society, to make us docile, to make us not question the things that claim to protect us that are actually actively hurting us, whether it be the government, whether it be the church, whether it be policing. He takes a critical look at it, both through examples and through his later comedy work.
Okay, everything's going on very cool. That guy said, hey, wait a minute. Although we made the rule, and how are we going to get somebody to throw somebody in the crap house? We need somebody to enforce it. Law enforcement, okay. Now they put the sign up in the wall, wanted law enforcement. Guys apply for the job. Look, here's our problem. See, we're trying to get some sleep, and people keep throwing crap on us. Now, we want somebody to throw them right in a crap house. And I'm delegated to the hiring here, and so Here's what the job is. You see, they won't go in the crap house by themselves. And we all agreed on the rule now. And we firmed it up, so there's nobody gets out of it. Everybody's vulnerable. They go thrown right in the crap house. But you see, I can't do it because I do business with these assholes. And it looks bad for me, you know. So I want somebody to do it for me, you know. So I tell you what, here's a stick and a gun, and you do it. But wait till I'm out of the room. And whenever it happens, see, I'll wait back here and I'll watch, you know. And you make sure you kick him in the ass and throw him in there. Now, you'll hear me say a lot of times that it takes a certain kind of mentality to do that work, you know, and all that bullshit, you know, but you understand it's all horseshit, and you just kick him in the ass and make sure it's done. So it happens that now comes the riot, or the marches. Everybody's wailing and blah, 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 blah. Now you got a cop there who's standing with a short-sleeved shirt on and a stick in his hand. And the people yelling Gestapo at him. Gestapo, you asshole, I'm the mailman.
And so the structure of the autobiography kind of fits this larger theme. The first half points out societal idiosyncrasies, by example, of all the times that Bruce was abused and neglected by the instruments of power. But he doesn't use that as a method to garner sympathy. No, Bruce always goes for the laugh. But underneath all of the giggles, the reader can plainly see that these experiences of Bruce's early and midlife, before he rose to national fame and infamy, were shaping this soothsayer comedian profile that he developed, where he would never take for granted being given something. He would always question why. Why is this the way that society is organized? And are they really giving me the answers to my life? Or are they taking what I have to offer and trying to push me into a box with others? And boy, they did not like it when he started going out and telling the world how he saw it. Because the instruments of power fear nothing more than people banding together to make fun of them. So the second half of the autobiography then turns to this period of about 4 years, from 1961 to 1965, where Bruce underwent a series of obscenity trials. And in order to get it all right, I'm going to just kind of read it off. In 1961, Bruce was tried for obscenity when he showed a photograph of a naked woman in a San Francisco nightclub and argued that women's breasts aren't inherently dirty. In 1962, Bruce was charged and convicted of obscenity after saying the word cocksucker in Chicago. In 1964, the Illinois Supreme Court begrudgingly, according to their opinion, was forced to vacate the conviction when a separate U.S. Supreme Court ruling used the First and 14th Amendments to affirm the right to speak in public. But then that same year, Bruce was charged and convicted again for using the word motherfucker in Greenwich Village at a show while making fun of Senator Barry Goldwater's poor relations with African Americans. The heat these arrests brought caused comedy clubs to then blacklist Lenny Bruce all over America. Then he was banned entirely from the United Kingdom. Then he died broke of a self-inflicted morphine overdose at the age of 40 in 1966. The instruments of power won. But make no mistake, the charges brought against Bruce, the trials that he faced, were not about words. They weren't about the corruption of youth. Much like the death sentence handed to Socrates, the reason Bruce is dead, the reason he felt like he lost, is because he undermined the idea that our institutions of power might not actually be as benevolent as they claim. And he didn't have to go to trial. It would have been easier at every turn for him to roll over and talk about airplane food and airplane travel and whatever the fuck comedians talk about. But he didn't, because he lived by a principled life, one that killed him, and he didn't even know what an impact that principled life would have. At the time of his death, Bruce would have never known the rights that he gave to me and all Americans. In fact, he would have thought that he lost, because he did. His convictions weren't overturned until after he died. And that's what makes all of this so compelling to me. The realness and relatability of being so close to your own purpose that you can't understand it in a larger context. That's the problem with purpose. We can only live in the present moment, so it's very difficult for us to predict or map out what the future outcomes of our actions are. It becomes a lot harder to live principled when everything coming at you from the present tells you to act in whatever way is easiest for you, instead of whatever way might be best for you, instead of whatever way might be best for others. But even if I'm sentenced to live with ignorance, Lenny Bruce's Autobiography gives me hope that if I live a principled life, at the very least, I'll do something for others. So thank you for setting that example, Lenny. Now, I don't feel the need to go into more of the specific material because I don't want to ruin the fun of discovering Lenny Bruce for yourself, and I would highly encourage that you do. Of course, I always link the books that I review in the description below. They're not affiliate links. I'd much prefer that you go to a local bookstore and buy it, but if you want to buy it from Amazon, that'll be right below. And that's going to wrap it up. If you liked this, you like this kind of content, leave it a like on the video or leave a comment below so I can engage with you guys. I absolutely love doing that. And my posting, much like my bowel movements, is very irregular. So the best way to follow up is definitely to subscribe. And until next time, cheers.
Hey, Lenny, where's your old lady?
Oh, we had a beef, man. We broke up.
Oh, it's too bad. Don't worry, you'll get back together.
No, that's it, you know. You have a million fights, and finally you decide that's the one. You've had it, you know, and I finally got the guts, and I got rid of her. I don't believe it, man, but I finally did it. I finally got rid of her.
How'd you do that?
She left me. But it's better off, man. You're better off alone. I'm really going to swing. I'm going to fix up my own pad. That's it. I can really fix up a pad, you know. I'm going to really get some of that shiny black furniture, and I'll get a bullfight poster, and I'll get a coffee table and make a door out of it. Then I'll just really swing, and it'll just be nice, and I'll get a satin smoking jacket and a pearl white phone, and I'll sit back and relax, and finally I'll be all alone, man. That's the best way to make it, all alone. All alone. All alone. All alone. Oh, a joy to be all alone. I'm happy alone, don't you see? I've convinced you. I don't know, I get so dramatic about it. You're better off alone, man. That's it, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of new suits. You know, I've had the same dumb suit for 10 years. You walk in her closet, you can't even breathe. That's it, I'll get a whole bunch of suits. I'll get a chick that likes to hang out, man. I'll have the vodka parties. That's modern. Vodka parties, swing it up, ball it up. I'll get a chick who likes to drink. Boy, my wife sure used to look good standing up against the sink.